Caden, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Keen, baby.
You're pulling at me. You're taking a nice gap before jumping in. That's good.
Yeah, no, you
Yeah.
gotta you
So
gotta get that
today,
burrito.
yeah, just in case, a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
And so today, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, AI, just kind of everything about it, like what we think about it, what we hope. And yeah, me and Kean did have a conversation about this beforehand. We just got sidetracked. We were discussing what we wanted to talk about, but then it just went mad. We just had a proper talk about it. It was good. Yeah. So not everything we might have say like, oh yeah, we've said this point before, and we're talking about it, but still, like we're just putting out an amateur podcast. Do not even think of trying to critique it. So yeah, and yeah, for anyone who doesn't know what artificial intelligence is, it's basically a good example of it would just be here's the definition of it refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimic their actions. So basically just if you what's it called, yeah, if you get a robot to do something that's human like, then that would be artificial intelligence. Like some examples could be like, say for instance, you're playing a video game and then you have like a bot come in as a teammate. That would be an example of artificial intelligence because it's mimicking human actions and other things like that. So yeah, why don't we
Start off, yeah.
start?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to start off with, I know we talked a bit about this in pre-show there. Um, we talked about automation and stuff like that. So, if you don't know what automation is basically in terms of AI taking over jobs and stuff. A lot of people are worried about this in modern day. I don't think much of it has happened so far, but in the sense of that, I mean, if you developed robots or machines that could do the same things humans can do, you could get humans out of a job basically. Like if it was more efficient and more profit for a company, they'll choose it. So we were talking about that beforehand, mostly on building sites and like um, what would you call it, self-employed people. So like say your tilers, your carpenters, your plumbers, how would they handle it? You know what I mean? And then the social aspects around that. So yeah, first of all, we had we were talking a bit about tilers and carpenters and such. Self like self-employed. So we wanted to touch on the social aspect because you could get say a robot or a machine who could mimic human actions to do something like that, except it lacks the social aspect. It lacks the bit of the person trusting you coming into their home and doing this thing for them that it'll be there for a long time. So yeah, wanted to get your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, Kate. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I feel like there is yeah, you could do it, like you could do that job with artificial intelligence cheaper and quicker, but because of the whole going into your home and people being a bit skeptical about it and it being so, what's it called? And it being so maintenance heavy and like very particular part about like your home. It's very important. You want them to be immaculate, and you're gonna trust someone who's been doing it for however long compared to a robot that's just been developed and you're
Mm-hmm.
finally putting it out into the market. But I feel like if they do end up getting in and they become the same, like the same abilities, I feel like that artificial intelligence will definitely at least exist coincide with builders and toddlers because I feel like along with there being people who want to get that because it will be cheaper and easier, and that's a very good sign. There's also the people who will support people who are self-owned toilers and self-owned businesses. So they want to enable them to have more, what's it called? Yeah, enable them to have more business and actually keep afloat because that is a very big thing.
Yeah, so not as much for self-employed and stuff, but more for building companies and the big contractor companies. I have a feeling that could work out if they got the right kind of machines and stuff working there. That could work out, but it could get a few people out of a job. You see, Caden mentioned a bit about this, how if you automate that part of the workforce, those people could learn new jobs because building is like they could go into more like jobs like either jobs like I don't want to say more important because that just discredits and that's not yeah you know what I mean
Yeah,
like just jobs like maybe in the health workforce they could work in the legal workforce defend you know what I mean so if that part was automized it would also the social aspect wouldn't be as furthermore because you see say okay so if you're self-employed yeah you go into the house, maybe you'll grab a cup of tea with the owner, whatever. You talk about them. You have a sense of style as well, so you can advise things like what tiles or plumbing or like whatever they're doing, carpentry, whatever. Um, they can advise for you like that because they're personal experiences with stuff. They're employed like that. But if you on a building site, it's a simple formula or instructions to put in this plasterboard, this concrete block, this so I have a feeling that would work out a lot more, as well as there's if they replace the humans on the building site, then
yeah,
the only person to worry about would be the foreman. And if he's not interacting with them all day, then it would be a good relationship. They get the work done. No more heavy labor jobs. Places could get built quicker. So yeah, I think that could be important, but also that many people getting kicked out of a job considering building sites are a big place. But I guess they could keep them on as alternate contractors, maybe designers for different buildings and stuff. But yeah, that's my take on building sites anyway.
yeah. No, what's it called? Definitely, we should do something. We should try and keep as many people in the business as possible and as many people employed. But at the same time, I'd say a lot of people would like if we could make things get built quicker, get done quicker. So you have a very hand in hand situation where you want one thing, but you also don't want to lose the other. But you're gonna have to
Yeah, it's
pick
kind of a
which one.
quality over quantity kind of thing,
Yeah, and
in a
like
looser
which one
sense,
would
of
you
course.
prefer? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Um.
very like broad kind
Mhm.
of statement, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it just
then
kind of summarizes.
well, one thing we didn't talk about was automation in. So we mostly talked about those working jobs, the contractor jobs, stuff like that. Smaller businesses. Big things that need to be done. But one thing we didn't talk about in pre-show was like big jobs. Like what about like maybe doctors and nurses, surgeons? What do you think about that, kid?
No, in my opinion, because it's such an important thing. It's your people who are fighting for your life. Well, not fighting, but people who are have your life, like your life would be technically on the line. Yeah, your life would be on the line with them, especially like surgeons and doctors to give you a proper diagnosis. Then yeah, that definitely is what's it called.
Hmm.
Like it is necessary that we keep humans there because
To sympathize as well,
it's
because say if something
yeah,
happens, if a robot comes in and says, "Your husband died," or something, they're not gonna know the emotion or something like that. And I know we're speaking very
yeah,
broadly here about robots and shit, like they're audio and like they're just fully functional.
yeah,
I know it's very in early stages, but this is just for future tense. Like things like this are possibly going to happen in future. They're going to have like human designed robots and machines that can do the same things as humans basically. So we're just speaking in a broader sense that these things will happen in future. Like it's kind of inevitable for some jobs at least.
yeah. No, and but then yeah, what you're saying that yeah, they won't be able to. Most things won't be able to give you that personal aspect, and won't be able to give you that side of it. If you have something that's based on opinion, especially if your job is mostly based on opinion, then your job is very unlikely to be taken over by a robot. For example, the lowest chance of your job being taken over is an interior designer, and interior designer is very situational and it's very on the hand. And yeah, you can go for courses for interior designing, but it's also a lot of personal experience belonging to that. So that's something that robots can't really have, with the fact that they don't really have opinions and they can't really base opinions, and personal taste off of anything is quite hard to do for a
Hmm.
robot, but it would be a lot easier for a human to do it. So
Yeah, and one pattern I'm noticing here is that a lot of the problems with AI and robots is the social aspect, the social connection between people. That's kind of what drives us. If we didn't have that social connection, I don't think society and people and civilization would be where we are today. Like, because it's just not the same. You know what I mean? Like it kind of accelerated
Yeah,
us, and then like as we said, that's like one of the bad things. Like, but what a lot of people conceive is that the one of the worst things about AI is, oh no, it's gonna take over. If we give it too much intelligence, it's gonna take it. There was incredibly low chances of that. Like I get that the Hollywood gimmick is to throw AI in a mixing pot with some chaos and just stir it around. But like, say if you take a movie like I Robot or something, it's a dystopian future where AI are everywhere. You know, you've got robots taking care of the elderly. You know, taking care of jobs, police, or stuff like that. I don't think that'll ever happen because I mentioned this to Caden in pre-show as well that humans have dominance kind of thing where like they're top of the food chain, they want to be up there, and if they see all these robots, they're going to feel threatened, you know what I mean? They're going to feel like they're so they want to get rid of them. So I don't think it'll ever accelerate past like changing a few jobs around, you know what I mean? Like changing a few building sites
yeah,
around, like making things a bit more efficient, but I don't think it'll ever evolve past that. Maybe in very far future at least.
yeah. It will. It will be very hard. It's very easy for them to make better or just benefit the actual work part of it. But when it comes to actually having and using the social part of it and making so that yes, don't worry about it. We're taking this handy. Like we're doing it grand. We're doing a good job. The robots, they won't be able to have that social aspect. And that's why a lot of people will be afraid off of it. Because if you have something that is just completely programmed to do one thing and one thing only, which is say for instance laying blocks, or in the more kind of like the more ones like I'm getting caught up on my words, the jobs that will not be likely to be taken over, for example, like tilers and interior designers, they the social aspect that will scare like the lack of it will scare a good few people off, and they'll say, "Hang on a second, there's no point because there is no social aspect. It's a very social job. It's going to be very hard to replace this. We need to use this and utilize it so that we can have just our own opinions, own bases, own formations, and just keep the social aspect separate to the work."
Hmm.
But yeah, if people didn't care about the social aspect, I'd say lots of jobs would be replaced. But if you have the not social aspect jobs, they will probably be replaced quicker by a long shot compared to the what's it called? Compared to the non-social jobs. Non-social jobs and social jobs are going to be a lot different when it comes to um, how quickly it will be to be replaced, and it will
Hmm.
just be very hard for them to get rid of the jobs that you associate with being very friendly and being very personal. Because, say, for instance, therapists, they're very personal. You want to actually have a human on the other end rather than someone who just tells you a certain amount of solutions. And
Hmm.
you want to be able to have a proper chat with them and say like, oh yes, and it's good. Like for example, sometimes you want a bit of humor thrown in. You want a bit of you want something. Maybe it's a bit like your situation's a bit unique. You can't really plan for everything, so you need to keep therapists as a job because most people would pick human over robot,
Hmm.
which
And
is very understandable.
I know we're talking about a mix of good and bad, like the pros and cons of artificial intelligence. But one thing I learned recently was, so this is the good. One thing I learned recently was that AIs can be very beneficial to humans in many ways as a tool, because a lot of people think of them as a separate entity, like they're gonna build up intelligence and attack humans with it. But nah, just sure. um, but yeah, it can be. It's a very useful tool because that's what it is. It's a tool that is a very advanced tool at that. But yeah, one thing I seen was it's very good at detecting patterns. So I seen some. So what I've seen, well, the potential for it at least. I don't think they've started using it yet, but AI could be probably be very beneficial for crime rates, maybe some solving some crimes. It could be maybe even health reasons. They could catch something happening before it even happens. It's just that could be very useful in very different circumstances. And it's just goes to show that artificial intelligence is not the scary thing that we created and we should be afraid of. It's this tool that we need to utilize. You know what I mean? And it's only getting better and better. Like we all think that like there's robots hanging around now, but like if you search it up on YouTube, you'll find like they're only learning how to make a robot hand right now that's articulate and shit. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just I when they start using it as a tool, that'll be great because it has a lot of potential behind it, especially that vast mind. Considering the human mind is limited in a lot of ways, but that kind of service could, yeah, definitely push us forward somehow.
Yeah, one of the biggest pros, in my opinion, for one of the biggest good things for artificial intelligence is machine learning, because machine learning can do things so much
Definitely.
better than humans, and it's so advanced that the creators of the bot that does machine learning don't know exactly how it works. And now you might think that's scary, but there's been like, we know roughly how it works, and it's usually that, say for instance, like the capture things where you have to click all fire hydrants to proceed and stuff like that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
basically, that is based off of machine learning and bots that recognize which is a fire hydrant and which isn't. So they can take, the bot will identify, oh, okay, it's red and it's cylindrical shape. Okay, and that would be a fire hydrant. But before that, lots of other bots have went through that process. And basically how it is firstly they get given a bunch of images that's like, okay, this is an example of a fire hydrant, this is an example of a fire hydrant, blah 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 blah. And then, like, this is a fire hydrant, this isn't. Then they'll get given a test which shows a bunch of new images they haven't seen before, and they have to identify if that is a fire hydrant or not. And then whichever the bot, like whichever intelligence gets the highest score, gets basically to keep doing its job.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
then then the ones that don't do their job properly, they get basically booted, and then a new wave of
Uh,
bots come in,
and the
and it's
difficult thing
over and
about
over
that
and over.
is, yeah, yeah, like that's amazing stuff. And then like it has so much potential, as you said there, and it's just considering the creators don't know it, that's the biggest thing. The reason it isn't used in like mainline services, like maybe health services, crime services, is because people are scared of it, are unaware of its potential, so they just leave it alone, leave it untouched until it's figured out. So I think that's the big delay behind artificial intelligence, why it's not being used. And I want to know something from you here, Ken. Do you
Hmm.
think it should be left alone for a long time and just be like a side project that people can use for coding and stuff like that in future? Or do you think it should be brought into the mainstream and at the forefront of society and everything like
It,
that?
uh, well, yeah, definitely. At the bottom line, it should be brought in, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, that's the thing. It should be brought in no matter what. But right now, it isn't. It shouldn't be a top priority.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take for an example. I was in the hospital once. I was doing like a therapy session, and they had a trainee nurse from UCD sit in with us and listen to my conversation and take notes. And I didn't think about that at first. And I was thinking, oh, that's actually really smart. They're taking a real life situation that they will be trained for, and they're using first hand experience, and they're using it as good research. So, if that can train a human, if first hand experience can train a human, why can't it also train a bot? That's what I'm thinking. You got to understand that, yes, people may think it as scary, but if you just give it human like experience and human like qualities, it will follow those and it will act like a human. And if we realize that we have to look past it being scary, and we have to realize that if we just give it the human qualities and we keep it as human like as possible, even though it is a robot, then it should work out fine. Then I feel like it will be accepted a lot quicker. So I don't think the debate should be should we bring it in now. It's that it should we teach people that it is harmless. Well,
Mm.
it can cause harm, but it's just as long as you do it correctly and you inform it correctly, then it should be harmless. And that, in
Mm.
my opinion, is a clear
Yeah,
yes.
and
It isn't a high potential, but yes, it should be uh,
what a
taught that
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it isn't
yeah.
that bad.
And what do you think what do you think kind of things the good potential could be used for? Because I've listed a few examples, health, crime services. But is there any unique scenarios you're thinking of right now that AI could be useful, really help people out? Really like drive something forward, and boost them. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't really have any examples I would like to see, but I have an example that you probably know and you don't really understand that it is an AI, but you just accept it. And most of you have it. It's a Google Home. That is an example of artificial intelligence. It takes it's it's an algorithm that takes the best results and it uses it and it relays it back to the user. Google's very secretive about it though. Not many people know exactly how it works. But the reason it works is because it goes in and there's, say for instance, I ask it what is the weather forecasted for tomorrow. It will pull up a bunch of different results and it will, based on a series of factors, however reliable it is, however understandable it is, however easy to digest, what's it called, like current, like time, not time zone, but current uh, location, and then it will base that, and it will take all those information, find the most suitable one, and then for that, and then relay it back and say, yeah, here it is, here's the information, give this back, and then people will, yeah, it will relay it back to the user, and it's all done in a matter of seconds. You can ask it, and then it will have a small little buffer, and it will give you the information you want. Simple as. Nothing else really to it.
Yeah, and
It's amazing.
that kind of data collection as well, it can be extremely beneficial for things, especially for efficiency for jobs as well. But it could also be used for bad as well. Like it could
Oh yeah,
also be misused definitely as a source of data collection. Say Google's collecting data on you, like oh, play my favorite song, yeah. Then
yeah,
that collection will build up. Like you'll ask for something, you'll list something, you'll log into something, and it'll collect it. Like I don't think Google does it as much, but there is companies guilty of collecting data. I know Facebook is one of them, targeted ads and all that shit. But that data, then if somebody got into those servers, into your data, they could learn a lot about you, and it could definitely be misused to either blackmail or harass somebody. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it has its good and bad sides. That kind of data collection for quick, efficient movements and programming and shit can be very beneficial, but also very harmful. So it's kind of a mixed thing. And to bounce off that a little bit, I wanted to ask, as you said earlier, it should come to the main thing, but slowly. Is there anything you'd say AI got to a good level? It knew what it was doing. It was beneficial to society and all that. What kind of dampers, like things, could they put on it? Say if something went wrong, what kind of measures would you put on it?
I'd say one thing about it would be that it should have some sort of instant fail option. That it should be able to just shut
Have
down
like a kill
at what's
switch?
it called? Yeah, have a kill switch. Could be
Mm.
temporary, could
Yeah,
not.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then
I think,
that would be the
yeah,
first one.
they should be very
Definitely.
careful with data as well, because say if AI ever became like a mainstream thing, like for example, Google Home, if they ever did something like on a larger scale than just a Google Home, they would have to put, like, they'd have to be very careful with data protection. Like, say you allow it to access your location or something, yeah?
Yeah,
Maybe do something so that it cuts it off before it goes into it. So say, no, say yeah, it gets your location and then it cuts off that data after you've used the location for something, yeah? Or ask the
yeah,
weather, then it cuts off the location of the weather or whatever, and just, you know what I mean? Yeah, just making sure that the
yeah,
data is not stored and more just used at the moment of the day. You know what I mean?
yeah. It should. That's exactly what it should be because it it should instantly just be okay. Yeah, it's used for this, and if it gets hand in hand to the wrong people, it could be like a massive doxing on a doxing on a massive scale. People here, there, and everywhere just getting their information leaked, and especially with while Google has one of the top security uh, methods in the world, and I don't think anyone will be able to crack it due to the fact that it's made with mathematics and it would take longer than the heat death of the universe to unlock it. It's still at a very high potential to be hacked, but by social engineering rather than instead of going
Hmm.
through the main situation, like instead of going through the main security levels itself, why not go through something that can be manipulated, which would be a human, and more specifically, one of the programmers who has access to that database and who would have access to look over that data to see if they could make any changes.
Hmm.
Which is very scary to think that the most people are being scared of, oh, what if AI does this? What if AI does that? But most people aren't thinking that the one thing that will probably go wrong first, the one weak link will be humans.
Yeah, and
And
one thing. Oh, what was it? I did there a minute ago. It was, oh yeah. I know we're speaking very seriously here. We're speaking about jobs and maybe even political aspects and stuff like that. But I wanted to turn it off now to a more light-hearted subject. How do you think AI could be utilized in mediums such as films, music, games, even, and stuff like that? Like, is there anything you think could be utilized there to make something good?
well, do I have a situation I want to talk to you regarding
Oh,
games?
I think I know what this is, but sure, go ahead.
Yeah, me and Kean were talking about this earlier. We were saying
Hmm.
that one of the biggest franchises, Call of Duty, it always uses AI in games. You know, like when you play against bots. But
Yeah.
in Call of Duty Ghosts, one of the defining factors that they did interviews, like extensive and lots of interviews about, was that it had fish AI. The fact that the fish that swim around you don't pay attention to had a mind of its own to go, oh yes, I'm going to choose to go here now and there. And it's just baffling. You could have put that money that you spent in paying the programmers to make artificial intelligence for fish that you won't even see towards um you could have put that towards anything, more map design, better features. Like, it's just mad because you're sitting there
Especially,
like, okay,
yeah,
like
like
what's the
especially
story?
because Ghost is considered to be like one of the worst. Like I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed the campaign and stuff, but a lot of people consider it to be bland and dry, which I kind of have that notion as well. Like, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah, it was kind of like a back burner game building up to another one, but. Yeah, it's strange for them. I
Yeah.
think it could have been a lot better if they spent a lot more of the budget and time on something else instead of the fish physics and yeah,
Yeah, that was a bit weird that they had fish
bit dodgy,
physics,
yeah.
but what?
Bit dodgy, I said.
Yeah, deserved, understandable, because like they could have had a lot different things, but chose to have fish. But let's not ramble on about too long. Let's actually
Yeah,
take a
I
good thing that they have, which is the bot support, which is very good. They no matter what, every single time, even though online multiplayer is getting more and more ambitioned and important, they're saying, yeah, no, we see you. we're gonna give you the bots, and yeah, like they're still including it, which is very good. And I didn't expect that. I would have said that Activision would have been saying, "Oh, okay, no, we're gonna take this away so we can put more money into the thing that's making us the most money," but they
Mm.
don't, which is really good,
And
and it
the
keeps
bots in
it
that game.
very replayable.
Yeah. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt there. The bots in the
I know.
game. I think I've seen this before. I can't be certain though. I might have seen this before that some of the movements and such and the character animations might have been used in AI tests for proper like in real AI for bots and stuff like that, or like robots and machines and stuff. So that's pretty interesting for them to reuse assets like that and actually be able to utilize like gaming mechanics for stuff like that. And
Yeah,
as well for fun stuff in AI. Um, I can't remember the YouTuber's name, but I remember. I don't know if you've seen the video where he got an AI to write a script for a movie. Did you ever see
yep.
that video?
His name's Austin
Yeah,
McConnell. I remember him. Yeah,
Austin McConnell.
big
Yeah,
fan.
I always
Yep.
mix him up with Nick Robinson. Yeah.
Oh, two good YouTubers. That
But yeah,
very good.
Austin McConnell. That would definitely recommend it if you're interested in AI and stuff like that. He does a lot of experimental videos, such as AI, like make an animated movie, some scripts, stuff like that, like writing it. And the script was very in depth for an AI. You know what I mean? Like you'd expect
Yeah,
like some really bad grammar mess ups, like well the he ran too cat or something like that. But no, it just it was very clean for an AI basically, and it was very surprising to see the extent of knowledge there, like a full-on writer. Some writers can't even get to like some depth that an AI could if it got the right assets. So yeah, just very interesting.
yeah. No, that actually is. It was really interesting. First time I watched it, I clicked onto it. I clicked onto it. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely some sort of joke. I was like, oh okay, this is gonna be funny, isn't it? And I was taken aback. I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting. I didn't know
Yeah,
about this.
I love the
It was really
experimental
surprising.
aspects to his videos. We'll leave a link
Yeah,
to his channel because it's great stuff.
yeah. Yeah, and yeah, he's very interesting. He talks a lot about filmmaking and being a writer, a book writer, anything got to do with like that kind of media, and it's very
Mm.
interesting to look at that. But he's talked about it so much, and now it's being like the weight has been lifted on like off of screenwriters' shoulders, and now if it becomes more and more and more advanced, you could technically in the future have an AI write a feature film, which is
Yeah,
really weird to
and
think about.
uh, playing a bit off that there. Did you see that robot? The machine kind of, actually machine learning robot thing that made a Eurovision song. Did you ever see anything about that?
No,
No, that was
what's that
it's
about?
surprising. Yeah, I seen it in my YouTube recommended. I think it was last year or the year before. They got a bot and they loaded it full of, I don't know if there was lyrics in the song, but full of lyrics, assets such as like your drums, your percussion instruments, your guitar, your string instrument, all this stuff like that. All the assets
Yeah,
say on GarageBand or something like that, but loads of them, and loaded it with loads of songs and stuff. And as you said, it used machine learning to learn like beats, the perfect rhythm, and it made its own. It generated its own song. It's on YouTube available now. We'll leave the link to that as well because it's amazing to see it. Like if you'd search it up now, you'd see it. It's like a bot made a full on song, and it's very good. Like it's better than some songs you see in the charts nowadays. And that's not calling anybody out, but
yeah.
like it's amazing. It's just a testament to
You wanna call
how
anyone out?
AI can. Nah, no.
Alright, good. Okay,
But yeah, it's just a
good,
testament to stuff
good
like that.
stuff.
Like as you said, writing scripts, books, and then even music. Like
Yeah.
shows the potential.
It's really interesting just thinking, oh, what's it called? You can go and you can do this. You can take this initially human based concept and turn it and get people, well, get machines to do it for you. And while there is some of that, well, is there any of that human nature or the human soul lost in the song?
I couldn't tell you. That's actually something I wanted to talk about. There was, I wonder, does one aspect machines are lacking as soul and creativity. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, without that machine learning, or even with that machine learning, would is creativity still possible, or is it just literally playing off the gimmicks of other people or playing off the aspects of other people's songs? Like, because that's kind of what creativity is for us. But some people can have really creative concepts on their own. Like that's what most
Yeah.
concepts come from. But a lot of people can also get concepts from music. So that's kind of a mix of real world and like AI stuff going on there. But creativity, yeah, I wonder can a bot emulate creativity and creative image? Because I remember it's a bit of a shabby example here. It's a bit of a rough example. But if any of you have seen Detroit Become Human, the Quantic Dream game, I'm pretty sure it plays off a lot of real world AI knowledge, but it's in a much further dystopian future where AIs, androids, and stuff like that. But anyway,
And very human like.
there was a scene. Yeah, yeah, there was a scene where it creates his own like art, basically, and I don't know if that's based off like real world knowledge of AI or stuff like that, but I don't know. AI, it's a mixed bag really, because like you could call them out for just like copying aspects from other people's songs and shit, but that happens in the real world anyway. Like there's not a lot of creative things, like really new things going around the world anymore. So I don't know. It's creativity though.
There is actually, now that you brought that up about the art thing, I just remembered there is a website that also is completely mechanical, and it's called This Person Does Not Exist. And basically,
Ooh,
it
yeah,
has a
yeah, yeah.
bunch of. Have you seen that?
Oh, I seen it. Yeah, I seen a few things about
Yeah.
it.
It's yeah. Basically, to anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a it takes a bunch of pictures from people and it puts it in to a database and it compiles it all together and then it creates a human like no it using all that information it creates a person that doesn't exist but it looks incredibly human like and you think oh yeah this person they probably just took this off of the database or something because no way that this is not a human but it's insane to see that it
Mm.
is a human. It is like completely just made up by the developers, and it's completely like unnatural, which is weird to think about because it looks so lifelike. It's insane. It's amazing to see how yes, it does work. You can create human people. Well, like you can create people who look like humans without using a human, without using an actual human behind it all, and for them to identify like facial features along there and then put that in and develop just something that like someone that hasn't existed is mad. It's insane to
Yeah,
think about
definitely.
that. Yeah. And that actually, I know I'm kind of going back onto the serious topic, but this could be used for crime as well. If people put in those features into a database, and like if
Yeah,
you had
definitely.
someone,
You see it
yeah,
in like yeah, just to play up your thing there. You see it in crime shows like NCIS, CSI, shit like that. Law and Order, I think even had a bit of it. But in all these crime shows, even like superhero shows and shit, you see this face recognizing technology, all this shit. Quantic Dream playing off Detroit Become Human again. But yeah, they all use this like facial technology that seems to just be inevitable now. So yeah, interested to see where that goes.
yeah, and yeah, no, I was more talking about like victims could put in like, oh yeah, did he have like a big nose or a small nose? Like pick which nose looked the most like his. Like
Ah, okay.
in the Me
Okay.
Maker kind of thing from
Yeah, yeah. Or Sims or
yeah,
something like that.
you yeah you get like a certain amount of like a certain choice of noses and like pick which one was most alike, and
Hmm.
then you could do the same thing the rest and the rest and blah 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 and
Exactly,
it just
and
keeps
that
going
could
on
be
and on.
that could be regional as well. Say if there's a certain appearance of a region, especially like a small village or something like that, you could that actually that's a good example there. A small village or something like that where there's a limited population, that could work really well. If you got a database of everybody's face, and match it up to the sketch on digitally, like on a computer or something,
Yeah,
that could really work. And then if it matched up really quick and efficiently, you could catch the person before they get away. We do something else heinous, another heinous act. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah,
and
great stuff.
yeah, yeah. No, it is. It is very good. Uh, yeah, no, it's just cool to see. Like, yeah, it can be. While yeah, it is kind of scary. Like, oh, you're gonna have something like not watching you, but you're gonna have like that kind of thing going on. You're gonna have that situation with in real life. You're gonna like it's gonna be very like shows, and you're thinking, oh, I thought this was just fiction. And people are gonna be like, oh, I don't know if I want to get involved with this anymore because it's turning so like into fiction. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's mad to see, and I feel like while people will be afraid of it initially, they will, if they adjust to it and realize that it does have a lot of good properties to it, that it will be very beneficial.
I think it
It will
will
be
take a while
very.
though, because there
Oh
is a
yeah,
lot of
definitely.
division in a lot of places with a lot of different beliefs and ideologies. So I think it'll take a while before everybody gets on board, and even then, AI still, like, even at that point, I don't think AI will be a massive. I think at at least maybe 20, 40, or 50, maybe we'll see some big developments in AI, like proper automation and shit. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think that. I think that's far future. I don't think that's something to worry about now.
yeah, which is good. So people who are
Hmm.
skeptical of it can say can still just stay skeptical of it and not have to deal
Yeah.
with it.
Mm.
No, but yeah, I feel like if they just implement it well and they make it friendly, then yeah, it should be good. Like they should just
Mhm.
be like, yeah, no, this is what it is. If they just be, yeah, if they be honest with the people and be like, yeah, no, this is what it is. Yes, it can have, it might be like a bit, you might find it a bit dodgy, but if we actually use it well and it gets, and like it gets
Gets
used
results.
responsibly, yeah, it can be really handy. It can be really good, and
And
it could help people out in the long term.
yeah, well, what do you think about the? There's obviously a big discussion and debate when it comes to artificial intelligence about whether allowing these robots kind of like a somewhat of a grasp of sentience kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like some sort of free will. And then there's the idea of whether
Um,
you're allowed to take control of them then because free will and all that, morality.
oh
It's
yeah,
yeah, it's a whirlpool of just it's just icky. You don't want to touch it. You know what I mean? You don't want
yeah.
to touch
It's
that
like
with a
you
10 foot
want
barge
to have
pole.
an
But
opinion. Yeah,
yeah, it's a
you want to
difficult
have an
one though
opinion of it.
because
It's
once
just like
morality comes into it, it's just nah.
yeah, that's there's no real right or wrong for that. Like it's completely ethics. Like
Exactly.
both sides of the situation can be right. It's
And
something that's
exactly,
hard to actually put a
it
pinpoint
depends on
decision
people's living situation, their life experiences, where they come up with their opinions and shit. So
on.
it really
Yeah.
just depends on, I don't know. We'll see in future. There must be some deciding factor, but I have a feeling that it should just stay as a tool kind of thing. You know what I mean? Until some
Oh yeah.
benefit to it having sentience, or being able to, you know, think for itself. I think it should have a reasoning behind it.
Yeah, no, it should definitely have a reasoning behind it. There's no reason you should just be like, yeah, no, here's sentience, blah blah. Blah. There you go,
Yeah,
because
it's a
that's
big
just
thing. It's like playing God, basically. Like
yeah,
exactly, actually,
you
it's playing God. You're
yeah,
giving life.
it's yeah, you're giving potential. Yeah, you're giving potential. Like you could be hindering, or yeah, you could be hindering or giving a completely good characteristics. But unless it's put into action, we won't know, and no one wants to put into action just in case of fear of opposing another side of a party. And that's what lots of people are doing. And in my opinion, it is the smart move for now because there's no point taking a side because people will just end up getting annoyed one way or the other unless you have a very high majority of uh, people, then you should put it into a situation. But for now, because there's no real right or wrong answer, it should just be left
Mm.
as yeah, it will come up one day.
Yeah, okay.
because it's very
Have you
it's
got anything
interesting.
else you'd like to touch on there for because I've kind of exhausted my topics here, which I'm very happy about because we
Yeah,
gave good
same
points.
kind of
We gave
here.
probably yeah, like I liked what we talked
Yeah.
about, but if you have anything else, shoot ahead.
Um, no, I don't. I don't think so.
Hmm. Okay.
There's the only thing I want to say is that I feel like more people should be educated about it because
Yeah, I think
it
so.
goes to show that lots of people aren't, and it's hard that seeing like
It's
yeah,
not a major issue right now to be educated about it, but
oh yeah, no,
just if you're living in fear of it, if you're living in fear that one day the robot revolution is coming, then maybe do a bit of research. Maybe jump on Google for an
yeah,
afternoon. But like if you're not majorly affected by it, if you're just chilling and you don't really care, then just be like that. But if you're interested, might as well search it up, see what's going on right now. I hear
yeah,
there's
it's
doing
what
some
events.
studies right now to find evidence of crime scenes and stuff. So that's a big step, I suppose. They're
Yeah,
doing
and
that
then there's
study in like a
always
university in America. So
oh,
yeah,
and then there's
there's
always the situation with self-driving cars and Elon Musk, and that's
oh yeah,
another
actually we
different
should.
thing. Yeah,
I think we should touch on that for a minute actually. But what's your
yeah,
thoughts on self-driving cars and stuff like that?
good. It's completely, it's
Hmm.
completely good in my opinion.
Um,
It's yes, it's the fact that lots of people are gonna be oh like what's it called saying like oh what if it like
dangerous.
crashes or whatever yeah
Hmm.
lots of people are like oh it's
Yeah,
dangerous
what I like
but
about
the thing is most people no times it will have a steering wheel
hmm
still but it will also have just normal self-driving features. It's not going to be completely one way or the other. But if you what's it called? If you fully, I remember CGP Grey talking about this. If you fully implement self-driving cars, then they will all be able to communicate with each other, and there will be no need for stoplights because all the bots will know that oh yeah I need to slow down for a bit, and then everyone will adjust accordingly and it will just be this big communal neural network basically of self-driving
mm,
cars at any position and in my opinion it will just be really good when it comes into situation and as
what
long
I
as we
like. Yeah,
utilize it well
sorry
it
to
should be
interrupt you
grand.
there.
Don't worry about
What do you call it? Yeah, yeah. What I'd like to touch on there with thing. I like their approach to that Tesla, they update the car. Instead of you going in for a new model every year or month because there's new self-driving features, they update the car because it's an electric car. It has its own like database in it, so they can update it via thing and add new features and add an updated version of the self-driving car, which is a really interesting like way of doing it. Instead of like every year getting the new Hyundai or Honda, you know, you can just update your car. You know what I mean? Like plug it in for a
it. Yeah,
software update,
no,
like as your phone. You know. And
yeah,
yeah, it's just
yeah. I
mad
mean,
like
it's
that.
weird to think
I like how
about,
that's
but
so. It's
yeah,
also not a
no,
screen thing because some cars just like they don't change anything. They just re-release every year, so you'll buy a new one.
yeah.
But yeah,
Like for the people who want the newest car, that will be
hmm
like a lot of
I mean, you
um
could count the Cybertruck, but that's extremely different to the actual normal Tesla models. So I give that a pass.
yeah. And that hasn't even been released. So
Yeah, I know. Mad.
yeah, there's no point kind of touching on it because we haven't
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
even seen it
And
driving. So
one more thing before we wrap up here. I was wondering, on the topic of Tesla and Elon Musk, there, do you think he'll ever incorporate in SpaceX, more focus here. Do you ever think he'll incorporate that like self-driving kind of AI into his ships? Like obviously there's an
oh yeah,
interface in the ship, but
definitely they definitely
for
will.
a self-driving feature.
Especially yeah, you're gonna say for instance you're gonna have trips to Mars. They take
Yeah,
multiple like
if they turn the moon into like an actual
months.
like HQ for like sheer where you can just like travel between them for the Sunday holiday, like for the summer
Mm,
holidays, like that's definitely going to become a thing.
yeah. It's definitely necessary that especially with those longer Mars trips that he will eventually inevitably do that he needs to yeah because I think most people won't be bothered with checking it like checking the
Yeah.
steering path, checking the flight path every however many like minutes or hours. So he will get machines.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
No
he
problem.
will get machines to do it for him, for the passengers, and it will make it a lot easier to manage and manageable to do it.
Mm.
And if it's easier and more manageable, that's even better because it's less training, less resources, less labor hours of teaching, on and on. It's just good that people are recognizing, like, oh yeah, we
Mm.
can do this, and that's good.
And yeah, just finally, because we're probably going to wrap up now in a few minutes. My final take, what I'd like to put out is probably just I support the idea of AI. I like the advancement idea behind it. I like the upgrade, that it could really help as a tool to humanity, but it needs to be monitored and moderated the right way. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
as I said, that sentience talk. I don't even want to get into that, but if something to that was ever to happen, it would cause a big divide, and there would be a big argument about it. So it's a touchy subject. So basically, I think humanity should continue to use it as a tool for as long as possible. You know what I mean? But continue to
yeah,
advance it because it is important for humanity. So my thoughts are, it's a good service. I think it should continue to be worked on and improved, and yeah, brought into the future.
yeah. Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same camp for now. In my opinion, artificial intelligence should be mainly a creative tool and a passion project, but it definitely has that potential to go on and be integrated into daily life even more than it already is. And we're in the digital age, so yeah, hopefully
Exactly. Yeah, the
should
most
be
perfect age to bring it out.
like most perfect age to like experiment it with and just have it going so they can have experiments and be like, yeah, no, this is what happened. If we, it's like, if you're ever doing anything, you just like if you're ever doing like any sort of experiment, like, okay, this happened when this like occurred. That was a fail. Can there be a different outcome? Can I use something different? And if they take that approach to the software and they just keep doing diagnostics checks, then yeah, it's a very useful tool and it should be treated very well and it should be very good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. Well, I think that just about wraps up today's episode. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Caden, for being
yeah,
my co-host. Much
yeah.
appreciated.
Thank you again for having this good conversation.
Of course. I liked how this episode went. We'd like to put that out there that we're trying to make the episodes more like they actually flow because sometimes it's what you call it, you get too focused on the main headlines, you get like the main points that you just lose the flow basically. You just go real professional and
Yeah,
just I like this because so yeah, we're trying our best, But yeah, I enjoyed
yeah,
this
and
conversation. It was
yeah,
a very
I did
interesting
too.
topic.
Yeah, and it's a very topical conversation.
Hmm.
And I hope, yeah, no, that's really good. So,
Oh, we'd like
bye
to.
everyone.
We'd like
Oh,
to
wait,
also. Yeah.
continue.
Sorry. One more thing.
We'd like to
First
announce
of all,
we're
we'll
going
leave.
on tour.
Oh God. Uh, First of all, we'll leave Austin McConnell's channel in the because if you're interested in AI, kind of the fun uses of AI and some stuff like that, you can go check him out. He also has some good videos. But we'd also like to thank the Puzzle Mind podcast for this topic suggestion. They left it on our Instagram there a little while ago, and yeah, we've just been
Yeah,
excited to do this. So yeah, okay,
yeah.
bye bye.
So, all right, bye.